Now we're going to go through the major LLM players. But first, let's actually look at the current state of AI. When it feels like one model is breaking out, feature parity just catches up immediately, or someone comes and blows them out of the water. So as you can see, ChatGPT is blowing the others out of the water in terms of Google Trends data. But then we can see that Google Gemini is doing well relative to the rest of them if you take ChatGPT out of the mix. I should note Meta just launched its standalone AI platform rather than having it incorporated into its social media tools or in addition to its Llama open source model. And DeepSeek, you may have heard of a few months back, it got a bunch of press as it's the Chinese open source model. So what makes each of these unique and different, and how can you take advantage of all of the features? First, we have ChatGPT, which has a bunch of different models that they constantly are upgrading. So currently, you can use at a lower cost GPT 4.0, O3, which is great for coding and deep reasoning, and then these mini models that are a lot faster. And then they have some additional ones that they're working on that helps with writing and exploring ideas. So they provided little tabs just to help guide you so that you can get the best functionality, whether it's for coding in Canvas, creating an image, deep research to do full analysis, better sometimes than an investment banker or consultant, or just search the web or get an overall result from asking it something. And ChatGPT has voice mode, which is pretty convenient while you're in the car, on the go, on your mobile device. For instance, tell me some of your best features.
Sure thing. One of the coolest features is having natural, real time conversations.
Okay, stop. And you can also use it on the desktop as well. One of the underutilized features that I like is being able to organize your chats and documents and instructions into folders so that it's nicely organized and you can have running context and reference these later so that you're not recreating the context for your chat over and over again. They also have Sora, which provides video generation, which I created that initial video with. And then they have their image generation model, which recently went viral because it is very high quality and it actually can generate text really well, much better than in previous models. And of course, you can explore other people's work in this Explore area. And of course, recently, ChatGPT came out with a really amazing image generation model that's very high quality, very stylistic, and most importantly, it does text well, where before that was very problematic in addition to having certain features like six fingers show up in people's hands. Now it is high quality where sometimes you don't even know the difference between an AI generated image or something that a human would create or photographed. Okay, got a few details wrong here, some opportunities for improvement, but still pretty good. Unlike other ecosystems, ChatGPT offers something unique, their custom GPTs. This allows both businesses and individuals to generate their own behind-the-scenes chain of prompts to get you the outcome you're looking for based on a specific workflow. For instance, I need to create a poster for an online store using Canva's custom GPT app. So it will ask you some specific questions and you'll go back and forth to generate, in this case, a design. Okay, and so in this example, in this custom GPT, you can actually generate Canva designs right here within the chat window. Now, one thing that most people are raving about when it comes to ChatGPT, at least at the moment, is how amazing their coding tools are, even for non-technical folks. So here we're going to create just a small little quick Pong game. All right, so it's writing the code. Now we can preview our game. Obviously need to improve the game, but there you go. And then finally, one feature that I think many LLMs are going to start incorporating even more are your ability to connect external tools to it. So from here, you can obviously add photos and other files from your computer, connect to Google Drive, and now they've incorporated in Microsoft as well. Now, of course, there is a limitation to how much stuff you can populate into the chat, which is called a context window. But this is also getting bigger over time. ChatGPT can also do queries over and over again on a regular schedule. So if you are constantly looking for meal planning, for instance, you can have it run every Sunday night to create a meal plan for you. And then you can even personalize and customize the tone or how you want ChatGPT to engage with you. So based on if you want it chatty or witty or anything else, you can include system instructions so that for every chat, it can refer back to how it communicates with you. And then one of the most exciting recent features is memory. So ChatGPT will now remember and be able to reference all of your chats across all time if you want it to. This is unlike other LLMs that it's really either folder specific or chat specific that it'll be able to recall. So this is pretty exciting. So if you want to see it in action, there's this really fun prompt to have it pretend to be a CIA investigator and tell you about yourself based on your chat history. Next, we have Claude. Now, Claude has a couple different models, but not as many as ChatGPT. Their most recent and intelligent model is Claude 3.7 Sonnet. They have Haiku for very quick tasks, and then Opus, which also can deal with a lot of complex tasks as well. So if you want to get a sense of the differences between them, Claude 3.7 I would consider to be somewhat of an overachiever. And if you don't give it guardrails, it'll probably think through a couple steps ahead and give you extra output, as it also has extended thinking. Haiku for very simple and quick tasks that you need done. If it's an important or complex task, if you turn on extended thinking, this will give you a better output. And both happen to have 200K context window, which is basically how much information you can put in for it to analyze and understand. And that includes documents, tests, text, and images. Now, with Claude, some of the features that it has is being able to have different writing styles, which I think are easier to input here, which again, you can still personalize in ChatGPT. But here they have some out of the box, and then you can add and edit your style. You can also customize it based on your task, whether it's writing, learning, coding. And then they've added this very cool feature, which I think is more extensive at the moment than what I showed you with ChatGPT, where you can actually connect different apps out of the box beyond just Google Drive for documents and image attachments, but also now connects directly to your calendar, Gmail, and GitHub if you're coding. And this is going to keep extending as they've just developed something called Model Context Protocol, which we'll talk about in a separate video, where they're enabling even more apps to be connected into your chat browser. Claude also has this really great way to organize your different conversations and chats into these projects where you can have project knowledge that it can constantly reference from each chat that you have, so you don't have to upload or connect the same documents over and over again. So that's very useful. If you're generating content constantly and have various frameworks, you can add those in here. The other important feature is that this information here is private, so the LLM is not trained any of your documents. If you are including any sensitive information, if you do it within Claude in a project folder, it will remain private where it might not accidentally show up on someone else's results. But even with that, I would still be a little bit cautious as to what you share with the LLM. Claude actually excels in a couple key areas. It is pretty great for coding. However, as a business user, it's really amazing for visualization, for infographics, process maps. I actually think it excels even over ChatGPT. So for instance, here is an example of Claude's interactive chart of the evolution of AI. It created all of these features and different visualizations, and you can interact with them. And then you can ultimately download these files in different format, and you can see the code behind it. And in one chat, it was actually to generate multiple artifacts. Artifacts are these different documents and outputs that it provides so that there's attachments to the chat. So over here, you have the actual chat and response, and here you have a document or sub-document of what it created. So this is the chart. Then you have code it generated, Then you have an actual document, and it formats things really nicely and does a great job at writing and provides a lot of meat to the content. And this is just from its basic model, not even from research. And then here is a visualization, which is again great for business use cases. It provided multiple outputs just from a very simple prompt. And here's one more example of its output from its 3.7 model that was very meaty, provided tables, trends, insights. So basically a full analysis and report, which is hugely beneficial for business use cases. Next, we have Google Gemini. Now, Gemini is part of Google's ecosystem. So Gemini actually shows up throughout your workspaces within Google. So Google has both a standalone Gemini app, an AI Studio app has more features and capabilities, and then one of the most compelling aspects is that it is incorporated into your workflow. So for instance, this is Google Drive, and they've included Gemini right here. So let's find out what Gemini can do. So rather than having to go hunt for a file, it can actually do the research, summarize it, and give you the output right here. They also have this within Google Sheets and Google Documents. So it'll keep being incorporated into the overall Google ecosystem. If we go back over to their Gemini standalone app, they have multiple models as well. Flash, which is their image model, has actually been pretty great as well. It hasn't been as popular and hyped as ChatGPT, but I would say it does a fantastic job. And if you remember, Google was one of the first in being able to do image analysis through Google Maps and through its Google Lens, among many other things. So it's been really set up for success to be able to be highly capable when it comes to vision and video analysis as well. They also have a deep research component, which again, very similar to Anthropic or Claude's. Deep research just provides a more extensive analysis, searching the web, gathering more information and sources, and providing a very meaty report. And then finally, they now have also tried to compete with ChatGPT's personalization, where ChatGPT can only really rely on your conversation history. Now, Gemini is actually incorporating your search history and more personalization. And of course, Google knows a lot more about you than some of the other tools. So that is a big differentiator when it comes to Gemini. And again, like other models, you can upload files, add things from Google Drive, and then it has the ability with Canvas to also do coding, all again within the Gemini app. Now, Google Gemini is also trying to compete with ChatGPT's custom GPTs. As we saw, you could go explore and have customized experiences with a chat from the Canva example. And Google's trying to do the same thing so that, again, you don't have to create the same chain of prompts within a conversation. And so you can create what's called these gems and basically build out specific instructions and knowledge to have that conversation and use those tools over and over again. So here there's a brainstorming one, career guidance, chess champ, and so you can build out your own as well. And like all the other AI companies, they're also trying to compete on coding. So they have a special area if you want to build out apps, which I highly recommend you play with. Now, while Gemini is really focused on consumers and public facing, there's also AI Studio, which is a hidden tool that Google has. I highly recommend checking it out to experiment if you want to see what some of the cool developer features are. Now, don't be intimidated. You don't need to be technical. In fact, they're making it highly accessible to build really cool projects. So this includes everything from testing out their prompt gallery, which provides interesting different prompts and different ways to organize them. Google's also made it really easy to manage prompts in this area. So here they allow you to make a copy. They have a prompt gallery. You can share your prompts with others. You can even save it to your Google Drive. You can also compare different models that they have by using a prompt and then generating it with different models and comparing them. Of course, this is only within the Google ecosystem. And then within the prompt gallery over here, you're able to reference different prompts so that you can save them and reuse them over and over again, which is a fantastic feature since most AIs don't have a really great way to organize and manage your prompts. But again, this is only for their studio and doesn't really play into their normal standalone. One other thing to note is you can actually add audio and YouTube videos and other media, which is unlike other models that don't allow you to do multimedia in that respect. You're typically only able to do image, text, and various documents. So this is pretty exciting. And it doesn't end there. So additional ways you can use multimedia within Google's AI Studio is this very cool streaming feature where you can actually talk to it, use a webcam for it to actually see what's going on in your environment or wherever your webcam is facing, and then share your screen. And then in real time, it can give you feedback and engage. So if you're working through something and you get stuck, for instance, if you're learning to code or you get stuck in an app, it can actually guide you through step by step on what's wrong when you share your screen. And then, of course, similar to ChatGPT, it also has its own video generation model, which is pretty cool. But it does have some limitations, like you can't share a specific person and have that person do something in the context of a video. And then if you want to learn to build any apps, this is a great place to do that. They have a way to get started with starter apps. So you can create an app here, and it has some templates and easy ways to start learning. They even have now a whole other tool called Firebase Studio that's competing with some of the code builders, but that's for another video. So those are really some of the cool features within the Google and Google Gemini ecosystem worth checking out. Okay, so next we have Grok. This is Elon Musk's and X's AI tool. So it has probably the most personality out of all of the AIs, unless, of course, you personalize the other ones. But it has out of the box ways to have different personas. So depending upon who you want it to be, I'd recommend checking out the Unhinged Comedian, and you'll be highly entertained. Beyond that, they do have comparable features like deep research, thinking, which makes it basically go through chain of thought. And they pioneered this interface in the thinking mode where you can actually see what's going on behind the scenes and how it's thinking through what it's researching and what sources it's accessing. So this is really helpful to have more trust in what it's doing. Then, of course, you can also add files, and it's also connected to Google Drive and Microsoft and provides any recent images and history. And then when it comes to image generation, Grok is the most free when it comes to IP. So if you are to ask generate an image of Spider-Man in any of the other LLMs, it will not do that and tell you that it is against their policies. Versus here, this is very much on the money. And now that Grok is part of X officially, I have a feeling we'll see more integration in its ability to access X's data and more real-time information than any of the other LLMs. While most LLMs do have search capabilities now, the fact that it has access to a social network is a key differentiator, so I would definitely be on the lookout. It also has really great deep research capabilities where one, again, it shows you its thinking behind the scenes, the different sources it's accessing, and it provides a very meaty, lengthy output with great formatting and citations. So recently, Grok just enabled its ability to generate various types of PDF and standard business documents. This is a huge benefit for businesses where you don't have to go and generate these PDFs. So as you can see, I just asked it to create a templatized invoice. Obviously, you can put in your specific information and it will generate it respectively. You can download it, of course, as a PDF. So a few other examples, it generated a white paper report, an academic report in this format with the information. This is beautiful. Then it created a menu in a nice format as well for an Italian restaurant, a resume, and an NDA legal agreement, which of course, go talk to your lawyer and get probably your lawyer's docs. But this is pretty great that it's able to basically format PDF documents. This is huge, especially for business applications. Next, we have Meta. So Meta only recently came out with its standalone AI chatbot. Before, it actually had incorporated some of its AI features within its social media networks, as you probably have noticed, but also it had Llama, which is an open source model that you can run locally. So we won't go into Llama too much today because it is a bit more technical. You have to install it locally or use a third party to host it and get it set up. And that's really for accessing local information and data and a much smaller access to information on the web unless you're able to integrate it. But with Meta AI, it of course came out of the gate running and has many features that the rest have. So you can generate an image and it has out of the box styles that you can see without having to remember the name of a specific style. You can just see them right here. So that's a very user-friendly feature. And then something very cool is you can take one of these images and animate it. So that's exciting. So Meta also has, of course, a social aspect where it has different images that you can publish, you can like, clip, and remix, and even comment. So they're trying to incorporate more social dynamics within image generation. So I bet in the future, this will probably be a way of discovering and some way to get an audience or following. So keep an eye on what happens with people generating different images and commenting and engaging with them. And of course, it provides some of the out of the box features of being able to chat with it and generate different kinds of documents. But what's also pretty cool is that you can then format it within the app. So here you can do text styling, bullets, and actually change the output and format without having to copy and paste this into a different editor. So that's unique that none of the other ones have. So that's pretty cool. And of course, now Meta has also voice interaction. As you can see here, it's listening to what I'm saying right now, and it will respond in a second. So Meta, please tell me something you think is interesting about today.
Of course, today's date is May 7th, 2024. And one thing that's been catching my attention is the surge in space exploration.
Okay, great. Space is awesome. Okay, so we will do an honorable mention of Llama, but we won't dive into how to actually set it up and install it because it's open source and it'll run locally. But this is extremely beneficial for privacy and among many other business use cases as well. Then we have DeepSeek, which of course became popular because it was able to be built very efficiently. Unclear exactly what they trained on. Supposedly it was a model from scratch. Some think it was trained on ChatGPT, but it was done supposedly also more efficiently. Again, there are some unknowns to be a bit skeptical, but this came out of China. But this also is an open source model, so this is very cheap and inexpensive. So those are the key factors that made it so popular. Now, I'm not installing this or running this locally, so I won't be demoing it, but you can access the model through Perplexity. Perplexity is a really great tool that basically provides research and they integrate with additional models. So you can access Sonar, which is Perplexity's model, Claude 3.7, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Gemini Pro, Grok, as well as DeepSeek. So if you don't want to have to set up and get subscriptions for all the different models, this is a great alternative to have them all here. And again, Perplexity really came out with the first one in being able to do web search. And of course, the rest of the guys have caught up. But they're again still worth watching and being able to access all of them together from one place. They have both a free tier and a $20 a month tier as well. Another aggregator of the different LLMs so that you can access all of them in one location without having to have a bunch of subscriptions is Poe.com. Poe is a spinoff from Quora.com, the Q&A site. And so here you can run all the different models as well. And of course, they have a few different plans as well. So for the same price you would do for some of the single subscriptions, you could actually access a bunch of the different tools. So again, it just depends what your use cases are in terms of what makes sense for you. One other tool worth mentioning where you can access a lot of models. Now, this is more catered to something called APIs, but if you want to run different image generation models that are open source, those are hard to set up or access, or voice models, you can go to something called replicate.com. And this is where you can access a ton of models, and people have done the hard legwork of getting it set up. And so here, for instance, all you would do is just enter your prompt and it will generate an output. So this is also something worth checking out and exploring because, again, you can access more finely tuned models that have specific use cases, whether it's trained on specific types of data. This is a great tool to access. Okay, so now you're probably like, great, these are super exciting, but how much is this going to cost me to buy a subscription to all these models? Again, if you want the best value, Perplexity accesses multiple models that you can access in one place or using Poe.com. But if you want to also dedicate yourself to at least one model and pay a monthly fee, I will include this as a document below so you can compare the different pricing. Basically, it's going to range from anywhere starting from certain tiers. Most of them do have a free tier that you can at least get started and experiment with. But as you start getting more and more usage or accessing certain features like video or image generation, those might increase your price to anywhere from $30 per user and up, again, just depending which one. And then a couple of them are for free, such as Meta. And if you have X.com or any subscriptions to X, you get access to Grok as well. And then, of course, there's other open source models that you can access from other providers and tools, which are typically free and you can run, but they do require more technical capabilities. I know it can seem overwhelming and it seems, oh, I have to buy all these subscriptions, but the most important thing is just to get started. Start getting comfortable with how you're prompting and interacting with these different tools. Things are changing constantly. You're not going to always be able to keep up. And the most important thing is just to start getting comfortable with how to interact with these AI tools. So if you have any questions, feedback, or would love to see any specific scenarios or use cases, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.